So Katie has officially banned me from ever trying to open the podcast, ever. So
there's that.
You'll never, ever witness the greatness that is my openings, cold openings, ever again.
I would never ban you from opening the podcast because that would mean that I would have to open the podcast my damn self every time.
That's true.
And it is a laborious task.
Yes, it is. Amongst many other things that we do here. So anyway, how the fuck are you guys? I hope you're doing well.
Have you been? How's your mom?
How's your brother?
How's your sister, Nim?
Yeah, your grandma, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins.
See, when we ask them how they've been, it like inevitably segues back to how we've been. And
That's the brilliance of it.
Unwell. I mean, not something I want to discuss.
It's like that song. It's like, I'm not crazy. I'm just a little unwell.
That,
I know
yeah.
Right now.
You can tell.
You can tell. Yes, you can.
You can tell.
God damn. Yes, you fucking
it's
can.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's going to work out.
Yeah. I had someone today at work. They looked at me and they were just like, and it was just normal. I was like, hey, how's it going? They're like, are you okay? And I'm like,
I had an employee of mine tell me that I looked. She asked me if I had a long weekend, and I was like, "Yep." She was like, "Yeah, you kind of look like you had a long weekend." And she like put a hand sympathetically on my shoulder, and I was like, "Damn."
I love passive aggressive moments like that.
It was genuine sweetness from her.
Oh.
For most people, it would be passive aggressive, but she's a sweetheart. But yeah, it just made me feel worse though, because it's like, oh, my pain is transparent.
Yeah, that happened. A coworker of mine was sitting beside me, and these two girls were talking, and we were talking about like hair products, about the new like Dyson has like a new airbrush thing.
Dyson the vacuum cleaner?
Yeah.
Like people?
Yeah.
But is it just a fucking vacuum cleaner for your hair? It's like
it just sucks your wig right off, honey.
Like that. You remember that? What was that tool from the 80s that you like sat it? It was like a cup and you sat it on your head and it sucked the hair up, but it cut it. It like cut the ends. It was like a hair cutting tool. You remember that?
I'm not sure. I remember that.
What was that called?
So anyway, we were talking about that, and one girl that was sitting beside me was asking like, well, what do you do? And then, or what does that do? And then the other one was like, oh, it styles your hair. And then the girl sitting beside me, and I'm pretty sure she did not mean this how it sounded, said, so in such a deadpan tone, you style your hair?
Wow. Wow.
And I don't think that's how she meant for it to come across, but like I was to the side dying.
And then
laughing.
The 8-bit shades came down and landed on her face.
The RuPaul Drag Race.
And we went to grayscale and it said Thug Life.
The Drag Race like shade sound clip that they use.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that's how it's been. That's our you've been I'm just gonna keep rambling because I don't
I thought it might have been going somewhere.
No, I don't know how to segue. I'm not used to it. We don't have any patrons, so I'm not really sure how to.
What do we do now?
What happens now?
No, I mean we still have patrons. We just don't have anybody new to welcome. We lost them all. No,
they died in the far.
No, we hunted the last one down.
No, but I will say this. We did actually just sort of tweak, sort of revamp our Patreon. So definitely go check it out, you guys. There's lots of really cool stuff up there. We have a few new things that we're going to be posting exclusively to Patreon. Katie's read some smut for us over there. And exclusive full-length episodes as well for you. Mm-hmm. So head on over to our Patreon. That is patreon.com/The Haunted Heart.
As you sort of gaze at me desperately.
I'm like, please put words in my mouth. It's not my bit.
Yes.
It's not my bit.
It's not your bit. But you did a great job. That's called keeping it fresh. Keeping it fresh.
Keeping it fresh. Keeping it funky,
clean,
keeping it alive,
keeping it clean, not using any of that, keeping it fresh, but with a nice mild soap, not using any of that heavily perfumed stuff or any of that stuff designed to change the scent.
Yeah.
It smells like it smells. It's a Patreon page, and it's going to smell like a Patreon page. It's not going to smell like Summer's Eve.
What does a Patreon page smell like, though? Like,
I think ours probably smells like desperation.
Probably. That and lots of like
Palo
flesh.
Santo and like
well, we have so many cannibals on there, you know, it probably smells like flesh.
We do have
rotten flesh.
We do have a lot of cannibal
That's what I would
content.
imagine.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, so that's the Patreon plug. You just said so anyway.
Listen, this is a conversation, okay? And so we don't always have smooth transitions in everyday conversations.
I have something that I would like to bring up. And you can call it on topic or off topic or whatever the fuck it is. But I have a show recommendation. And it's not related to horror. And it's not related to crime.
Oh, okay. We haven't done one of these in a while.
But it is related to laughter.
Oh.
Okay. It's on Netflix. And it's called Schitt's Creek. And it is exemplary. It is like the bright, shining light in my life right now,
all right.
Which should tell you a little something about my life right now. But it's Schitt's Creek, Schitts, and it's Eugene Levy and his son Daniel Levy. He may go by Dan. He's credited as Daniel though. And it's a show about these like super rich people who like lost everything they had because they filed their taxes incorrectly or something like that, which doesn't happen, by the way. But it happens in the show, and then they have to move to this like shitty little town that they bought called Schitt's Creek.
That they bought?
Yeah, they bought. Like the dad like bought it as a joke to give to the son for his birthday one year, and like it was a joke.
Oh.
That he bought the town because they were that rich apparently. But then they have to move. You know, it's a plot device.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
familiar.
Sure.
So they have to move to this like shitty town, and it is like the coolest. Like it's such a good. Eugene Levy and Daniel Levy wrote it together, but Catherine O'Hara is in it from Beetlejuice.
Oh yeah, okay.
She's fucking phenomenal. You haven't watched the show yet, but you have to watch the show because you would love it so much because like it's kind of like if her character from Beetlejuice was like way richer, but also like way crazier. And just way more outside the box. But some of the outfits that she wears are fantastic. She's like in black and white the whole time. And there's a lot of really cool, themes in it. Pansexuality is kind of explored in a like unique and really interesting way. Because there's a character that you're like, oh, he's definitely gay. And then you realize that he's like something happens and you realize that he's like pansexual. And it's like just not the typical story arc for a gay character, I feel like. And I really appreciated that they were kind of like doing something different. So if you are into like pro LGBTQ plus programming and like to laugh, then you should watch that fucking show.
Yeah.
And they didn't sponsor us, but so that was just free money, you fucking levies.
Well, I just binged Stranger Things season 3, so there you go. Anyway.
Maybe we'll put something on the Patreon about that.
No. That sounds, I think I've actually seen some things floating around about that. Is that new?
I think it's in its 5th season.
Oh.
But I think it maybe just got put on Netflix, or maybe it's been on Netflix. I don't know. I love Catherine O'Hara and I love Eugene Levy, and I was totally in the dark about it until like recently.
Okay.
When it was recommended to me, and I was like, oh, all right. Well, I guess this is like my new favorite show. So it's very fun.
I might put it on while I edit the podcast.
Sometimes I put it on, in between murder documentaries. I tend to,
I thought you were going to say in between murder, and I was a little concerned.
Well,
Because I'm like, you didn't invite me? Where? When have you been murdered? Come on now.
Not yet. I haven't made it there yet.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
Bitch, I don't fucking know. I'm going to tell you what. I saw the top. No, literally. I saw the topic for that. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. I thought at first I was like, is this about porn? I thought it was some sort of like, I just didn't know what it was. And then, thanks to Google, I was led down a rabbit hole searching topics about gangstalking.
Yes, gang stalking. So this is one of my recommendations.
I'm gonna tell you what.
Similar in the same vein as the Mandela effect.
I'm gonna tell you what. You can always tell when a fucking topic is mostly Katie because it's some shit like fucking Mandela or it's this bullshit.
It's some shit gonna fuck you up.
It always leads you down a goddamn rabbit hole. And I have about 37 tabs open on my fucking laptop right now. Will I get to all of these tabs during this fucking episode? I don't fucking know.
Probably
Do
not.
I have a solid outline of what I'm going to fucking talk about? No, ma'am, I do not. I don't.
So imagine, like, that's my brain. Like,
Oh,
all
I
the
know.
time. Like,
Oh, I know.
That's how it functions.
Tell me something I don't know.
It's just all those tabs. Some stuff about gang stalking. There's some shit about, like, Pleiadians. We're talking about the Greys in another tab. Like, we're talking about, like...
And then
homicidal
meanwhile, all the
maniacs in
really
another.
important shit is in like another window that you don't even
It's
see.
in a
and
notepad
it's
that's like swished to the side, and it's got about 2 inches of space. You know, we're working with a font like 8
Yeah, totally.
italics. You know, to give it emphasis.
Wait, did you just say italics?
Italics. It's supposed to be italics,
Did you
right?
just say italics?
Yes, I have these like fucking
Like you were trying to
speech
say
things.
Italian.
Yes. No, I always say italics, and I always say like Hitler's master race. Like what's Hitler's master race called?
Bullshit?
That, but also
Oh, Nazis.
no.
Oh.
Aryans. So they're called Aryans, Aryan. But I have always said Aryans.
Aryans?
Yeah. One time in the middle of a history seminar in college, the professor called me out on that. I was like, is it Aryans or Aryans? And he was like, I mean, you could say Aryans if you wanted to be a pretentious douche. And I was like, wow. He
And
really
then
went
she
for that.
did.
Yeah. Yeah. He was trying to fuck me. He found me in a pizza place and was trying to like pick me up later. And I was like, no. I already had my time period for dating assholes. And you're not cute enough. So.
Okay.
Also, you're a German history major. So, professor, actually, at that point, I guess.
Okay.
His name was Ted.
Okay. Let's not. Ted, all right.
Anyway, gang stalking. Yes, so gang stalking is a relatively new-ish phenomenon spurred on by the effectiveness of the internet these days, and particularly access to the internet. So 10 years ago, certainly 15 years ago, looking at like 2004, we didn't necessarily, we had the internet. It was developed. It's been around since the 90s, but it's actually been around since before that, but we could access it since the 90s. But it wasn't really a part of our daily lives. We weren't as connected to it as we are now. 2004, we were rocking the Motorola Razr phones, right? And we were texting, and it was a great time, but we didn't necessarily have like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all these things, even the podcast app that you're listening to our dumbasses on right now. Those sorts of things weren't on a piece of equipment that you carry around in your pocket every day. And what we've seen as the internet becomes more of a presence in our day-to-day, second-to-second lives as we're out and about living life, and as more people get access to the internet and the barriers to entry for internet access get lower, right? Everywhere has Wi-Fi now.
Oh, yeah.
And technology that you can use to access the internet is super cheap. So, like, basic technology is. iPhones keep getting more fucking expensive, but that's my own private problem with addiction. But as we see more people getting access to things like YouTube is a big one. Reddit is another one. We're starting to see these internet phenomenons emerge. Did I say phenomenon? Phenomenon.
Phenomenon.
We're starting to see things like gang stalking emerge. And so we wanted to kind of talk about it today. We're going to kind of talk all around it. We're going to talk about what gang stalking is. We're going to talk about how you can know that you are a victim of gang stalking. And we're going to examine some particular instances of gang stalking. And then we're going to, leave it up to you guys to decide whether this is a thing or whether it's not. But spoiler alert, if you think that it is a thing, I'm going to advise you to seek the assistance of a medical professional.
Yes. I started researching this, ended up in a very, very strange section of Pornhub.
Oh, really? I've never been there.
Oh.
That's a corner I've not yet peered into.
Ooh. Somehow I don't believe you.
Gangbang? Gangbang corner?
Yeah.
Because I've definitely spent some time there.
No. So this was like you said, this is such a crazy topic. Like I said, like the Mandela effect, it just really sort of set me on numerous tabs and searches, because it's like if you try to search for one thing, it leads you to this story, and then you take that, and then it's like, oh, well, what are they mentioning here? Like, let me go research that. From what I can personally tell, because there was a thing on here about how some of this sort of has origins like with Germany,
Yeah.
and with Germans.
Any conspiracy theory that we track far enough back eventually will hit Nazis. And about 7 like Angel Fire sites later, you hit Zionists, which of course is anti-Semitism. So it'll happen when you're researching topics like this. I know that we're definitely both on a list.
Are we?
Even if we weren't before, we're definitely on one now. Because like you'll be researching something, and like Kenny said, you'll find a rabbit hole, particularly in gang stalking, and you'll go down that rabbit hole and you'll be like, oh my gosh, like this is connected to gang stalking, and you get through it and you're like reading through, and you know, it takes you to another site, and then another link takes you to another site, and then another link takes you to another site, and eventually they explain that it's all the fault of the Jews, and you realize that you have been suckered yet again. Because it all kind of all roads lead back to anti-Semitism in conspiracy theory culture, it seems. Which is unfortunate, because, you know, there's a lot of other races that we could blame things on.
I'm going to say...
like white people.
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay. So, essentially, beginning in the 1970s, the German Secret Service, or the Stasi, as they were called. I'm assuming I'm pronunciating that correctly.
Oh, maybe we should call Ted my German history professor so he can tell us what fucking pretentious douchebags we sound like in front of all of our listeners.
They decided that normal forms of information gathering, you know, like torture and arrest, that was old hat.
You know, you got to always be changing up in your relationships to keep it fresh.
Keep it fresh.
You got to keep it fresh.
We'll circle it back to the beginning of the show, keeping it fresh.
That's why sometimes when Kenny pursues something, right, and like tease it up on the show, I just don't follow through. Just to keep the fear alive in him that maybe I'm not going to be there to catch him.
The fear is alive, folks. The fear is alive. So... the Germans thought, again, like that was just not, you know, thank you next, right? Mm-hmm. So they thought that they needed to spice things up a bit. So they decided to begin the psychological harassment of their enemies. A term I'm also going to butcher, but this term is called Zersetzung.
Sounds good. Vidal Sassoon.
Vidal Sassoon. Yeah, it's a very simple word, right? Mm-hmm. So over the next few decades, this, you know, has taken on many names, including gang stalking, mobbing, dogging, adult bullying, even. It's actually this word, the Zersitzung word, is German for decomposition. And it's a psychological warfare technique used by the Ministry for State Security to repress political opponents, or was used to repress political opponents in East Germany during the 1970s and 1980s. It served to combat alleged and actual dissidents.
Dissonance?
Dissidents?
Like a D-E-N-T-S?
D-I-S-S-I-D-E-N-T-S.
Yeah, dissidents.
Yeah, dissidents. Through covert means using secret methods of abusive control and psychological manipulation to prevent anti-government activities.
And you said it was East Germany, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So that's post-Nazi.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 70s and 80s. It's post.
It probably like carried through. Well, because I remember we were
sure.
talking about the Stasi and a lot of that stuff, a lot of those techniques kind of carried through. The other thing was massive influence in East Germany was the Soviet Union. And they definitely used those types of techniques. And so that shit was all connected.
Yeah. And this is like definitely a little more like, I think, not to like step on anyone's toes or anything. Germany, no, but
not to offend Nazi Germany, but fuck you.
No, not to talk about any like of how this has evolved and how people are experiencing this today. But I'm fairly certain that these were things that were actually like these were real problems
that were happening.
Yeah,
facing,
right?
Definitely.
And it actually affected up to 10,000 individuals in East Germany, and is estimated to be about 5,000 of those who have sustained irreversible damage. So they actually have special pensions and restitutions have been created for these victims. So that's okay, cool.
Yeah.
But that's where we start to see a little bit of this super like mind manipulation, control, conspiracy. I think a lot of that is where this has like evolved from. Like, yes, this was a real thing.
Right.
But like, again, this was 70s, 80s. Then we start getting the internet involved a little bit after that.
Right.
And
we have these like things that were actually documented, that were actually happening, that documented reliably from reliable sources, because of course gangstalking today is very well documented, but the reliability is questionable.
Yes.
But we have these things that did actually happen, that were actually practices that were going on in the Soviet Union and also in East Germany, and that sort of takes on a life of its own once we get the internet involved. And then suddenly people who feel isolated, right, by whatever in their lives, or due to mental illness or whatever have you, those people who feel isolated in their day-to-day lives can kind of come together on the internet and establish these support groups. So today, more than 10,000 people worldwide claim that they are victims of a vast organized surveillance effort designed specifically to ruin their individual lives. And they call this gangstalking. So that's our modern understanding. And just to emphasize a couple things there, the adjectives that I chose were important. They were important. They do believe that it is a vast effort. It's huge. It involves police. It involves firefighters. It involves, teachers at school, coworkers at work, people in their family even, and random people on the bus, on the street, in parking lots, people driving past them. It encompasses
the people you listen to on your podcast
almost everyone. Yeah, exactly.
We're talking to you, and you know who you are.
So it is vast, and it is, second point, very organized. These people take offense to, there are some other terms that can be used. One is community stalking.
Yes.
That term gets thrown around a lot, and people who are like hardcore, like gang stalking, advocates, proponents, victims.
An advocate.
I'm not really sure.
Do they have a ribbon that you can put on your car?
But people that they have a frame on Facebook
Yes.
for like Pride Month, it's just like camouflage
I
because they're
support
trying to like,
gangstalking.
not be seen. Yeah. But no, they believe that this is an incredibly organized professional effort. And so they take offense to terms like community stalking, because community stalking to them seems too nice, I guess.
I mean, it kind of does. I mean, let's be real. Community stalking. It's
Community
like
stalking.
You use the word community, so it's like, come
okay,
together.
we're all in this together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like High School Musical status. No. They take great offense to those types of terms because it doesn't, they feel, reflect what a like professionally organized activity this is. They don't necessarily believe. Some folks will say that the people who are helping carry out the gang stalking, and we'll get into kind of the roles later, but some people believe that people are paid to stalk them. Some people believe that everyday people walking around are actually like professional, like people who work for the government doing this on the daily. So I guess some people are contractors, some people are full time.
Yeah,
maybe
that's true.
I don't know what kind of benefits comes with being a gang stalker.
What's the benefits package look like exactly? I mean, do I get paid holidays, health benefits, dental? Show me that dental package, honey. Vision. What about it?
So, getting into kind of like how groups are organized in gang stalking. Victims of gang stalking widely recognize themselves as targeted individuals. That's kind of the nomenclature that they assign to themselves. They feel that they are, for some reason, targeted by the world government or, you know, the mysterious dark forces that hold our universe together. For some reason, they are particularly of interest or offense to those sorts of forces, and so they are targeted by these, you know, various groups for whatever reason.
I love Target. Target's great.
Target is great. Target should jump on this
I mean,
as some sort of
are
advertising.
you targeted?
Are you feeling targeted? Because I am. 25% off groceries. Like, you know.
25% off all aluminum foil.
Amazing.
That's what I'd fucking do.
So targeted individuals are harassed systematically, and they believe in an organized fashion by handlers.
Oh.
Handlers are kind of like your manager, like your assistant manager type role. You can spot handlers because they wear red shirts, apparently, and drive red cars.
You know what? This sounds like it would be the great plot for like a show, like a comedy show, where like a handler and his target, I guess, like interact with each other, but make it like horrible things happening to you, but make it comedy,
but make it funny.
Yeah, like this show.
Interesting. Possible. Put a pin in it.
I'm marking it here. If I fucking see someone has stolen that, if that ends up on fucking Netflix next month, I'll watch that shit.
Then you might be a targeted individual.
I might be.
So handlers, what would an assistant manager be without his minions?
Hey, I take offense to that.
Minions of the handlers are called perps, short for perpetrators. Perpetrators are the people who are actively harassing actively or passively, actually, harassing the targeted individual. So they are managed by the handler. So it's interesting how they've even like built out a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Like it's been bureaucratized.
It's a whole system.
Yeah. And you know, a targeted individual would tell you that it is a system. It's supposed to be a system. It's incredibly organized, and that is part of, you know, the gang stalking experience.
Like the Ministry of Magic in Harry Potter, but bad.
But bad.
Okay. And no magic.
No magic.
Oh.
That we know of. Only electronics, advanced ones.
Muggle magic.
Yeah. So targeted individuals say that their handlers or perps or the world government or who have you is actually able to keep up with their movements due to implants that are placed within their skin. These get there from a variety of sources. It's everything from, you know, don't go to the dentist because if you have a cavity filled, then they put an implant in your tooth and then they can track you everywhere you go. To, you know, somebody's putting a tracking device inside my car, and I know because the radio only plays certain songs at particularly interesting moments, like it'll play 99 Red Balloons when I pass by a red balloon on the side of the road. To even chemtrails, which is a whole separate conspiracy theory that I would love to dig into.
I saw that on the episode to-do list. I knew that was
Yeah,
you.
I don't know that we can dig into that just because I don't know that we can bring anything new to the table with it. Last podcast on the left did an excellent episode on chemtrails. I listen to it anytime I'm upset or feeling bad about myself because it makes me feel better about my current state in life. But they did a great episode on chemtrails. If you are interested, it is very funny. But long story long, targeted individuals believe that chemtrails, which are the little clouds in the sky behind planes and things of that nature, they believe that those are actually placed there by mysterious forces, and they drop stuff.
And things.
Yeah, it's a combination between like some sort of advanced electronic system and a fungus that like falls on us and like gets implanted in our skin, and then we have like fungus, like weird electronic fungus that we can't see growing on all of our skin, and that somehow allows them to track us and know what we're doing and mind control us in some sort of way.
People really have a lot of time on their hands, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people in rural communities, not a lot to do there. Again, I just want to make another statement. Netflix is available everywhere. If you can get YouTube, you can get Netflix. Just check out Schitt's Creek. It's pretty funny.
What the fuck?
It's a lot for you. You know, it'll keep you occupied, keep you from looking at like clouds in the sky and making conspiracy theories about them.
This actually reminds me of that film
very funny,
with Ashley Judd in it, Bug. Did you ever see that?
Yes, very.
That's
very
what this
movie.
reminds me of.
Kind of creepy. Yeah, so that's kind of what they're thinking, and there's lots of videos and shit online. There's a guy who like uses a tomato that has like 3 little hairs on it, and he's like trying to tell you that like that is proof of something being embedded in your skin to communicate with the world government. So
okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I hope those FBI agents are enjoying the show. I really do.
You don't want to be in
breakdown.
this. You don't want to know what's happening over here. You don't want to be in this head.
No.
You don't want to know.
Not at all.
You know, I'm pretty sure that my FBI guy put in for vacation. Used it all up quick, got a new one. Like, I wear them out quick.
He's like, can I, like, go somewhere else, please? No, we're good. We're good with her.
So, obviously, a lot of the symptoms of gang stalking are also symptoms of mental illness, particularly paranoia. Some folks who are experiencing and documenting their gang stalking suffer from, symptoms that appear to be congruent with schizophrenia. I'm not a doctor, but this is, what psychiatrists have kind of said about this phenomena is, it can be sort of connected to schizophrenia, paranoia, all sorts of like delusional behavior like that. But interestingly, the psychiatric definition of delusion, it's got like 2 components. The first component is that the ideas that you have are not vulnerable to evidence, which is certainly true in the case of gang stalking.
Yes.
We'll get into some like examples of targeted individuals and how they feel that how they can tell that they're being gang stalked, and you will see their ideas are not vulnerable to evidence. You can present them with evidence to the contrary, and they will kind of talk around it or just refuse it. And the second component of the definition of delusion is that people in your culture don't share your belief. And I think that the second part in particular is very interesting because, now we're seeing, I think most people can recognize that gang stalking as a concept is delusional. It is, like Kenny said, there have been certain points in history and certain sort of initiatives where these sorts of things did take place. There is such a thing as, harassment, and there is such a thing as, organized forces that are trying to like do things secretly that they don't want other people to know about. So conspiracy is not is a real thing. It's totally a real thing. But I think most people would recognize gang stalking as something kind of like outside that, as something that they wouldn't necessarily share in that belief. But interestingly, on the internet, we're seeing this whole community grow around this gang stalking thing. There are gang stalking support groups that have been organized.
Oh, aren't there?
To support targeted individuals. And so, at that point, to that second point of people in your culture don't share your belief, people do share a belief in gang stalking now. So it is sort of becoming normalized to a degree. And we do make jokes about the FBI guys on our phone,
They're the same ones that are looking at, you know what? I'm going to tell you what. Before we get into talking about Facebook, because, do I have a Facebook group? I was sort of reminded when researching all of this, and we've mentioned this before, yes, algorithms, but there's something that, I feel like if someone is under these beliefs that they're being gang stalked, things that, if you are, talking on the phone about, ordering a mushroom pizza, and then all of a sudden a mushroom pizza ad appears on your Facebook feed.
Or sometimes, these days, even when you're not talking on the phone, you and I can be having a conversation just in the room where my phone is sitting on a desk, and then all of a sudden I see an ad about what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shit happened, actually, the other night when we ordered the mushroom and spinach pizza. Mm-hmm. And you ordered it. You ordered that, not me.
Yeah.
And then as I was scrolling later on that night, an ad for mushroom and spinach pizza popped up on my Facebook feed.
That's very... I don't like that.
So, but those are things that are legit. That shit legitimately creeps me out. I'm sure there's some weird technical fucking bullshit explanation for it, but to think that if there are people that are actually believe that they're being gang stalked, how does that exacerbate those tendencies? You know what I mean?
I mean, honestly, if we want to get really deep into it, I think we're probably all being gang stalked by corporations every moment of every day.
I mean,
we're certainly being stalked.
Yeah.
Because they're wanting you to buy. We did the whole thing with Instagram and how you can look at your ad preferences and see how your browsing history has influenced your ad preferences. And a lot of that shit is stuff that you weren't even looking up. I think one of mine was fish.
Yeah.
I'm not really looking, I don't ever go to the search bar in Instagram and type fish. But they're looking at the content that you're liking and all that stuff.
Were you looking up Albert fish?
Maybe. No, but then I think it had seafood in parentheses.
Oh.
See, Albert fish would make sense. Seafood. Albert fish would make sense.
Yeah. So
alarmingly.
I came across a Facebook group, and it is called Target Individuals of Gang Stalking and Mind Control Around the World. And their default profile picture is Snow White when she is having a moment and she's all scared and is
oh,
when everything's dark. I forget what part of the film it is, but that's their picture. And they just have some interesting statuses on here. And I kind of wanted to read one for the podcast, if you wouldn't mind, dear. They said, have you ever asked yourself why in the new telephones the battery is not removable? Without a SIM card, yourself...
Because it's a lithium-ion battery.
Shut up, Katie.
Because it can explode.
Yeah.
You could hurt yourself. You could hurt yourself or others.
I didn't know that.
That's why.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
Without a SIM card, your cell phone can be tracked and located. Without a battery, your cell phone cannot be tracked and located. There are so many software that installed in the mobile that help to track cell phone without SIM. With a Gmail and location on, you can track the phone and location history. Have you ever asked yourself why the phone companies offer so many advantages? In and free gig and so on, it is because they sell your informations to thirds parts, like, for instance, Virgin Media, to myself. Google. WhatsApp is also a free application, but remember that when something is given for free, you are the product.
It's interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. Like the last part of that, it was definitely gobbledygook. But the last part of that, I don't know, it resounds.
Kind of stuck. I was like...
Kind of resounds. I mean, I think in some cases that's true. Because, everybody's constantly beta testing everything. Mm-hmm. So...
You are the product. Yeah. And it's just really interesting because...
But also it kind of doesn't mean anything, too. Like, it makes complete sense and also makes none.
I mean, this group has articles on here. Oops, I clicked on a link. Am I going to get a virus? That's like how to run a private army. I'm like, what? I don't want to know how to run a private army. They have things on here that's like, they must pay what they did to us. This is not stalking. This is abuse and torture. The people have a right to organize as a militia, regardless of government approval or endorsement. And it's just some really crazy, strange things that you can pull up on the internet. They actually even mention, because this was another rabbit hole, because they actually started mentioning like noise. Oh gosh, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Yeah, like noise harassment.
Yeah, like noise harassment.
Yeah, which is another thing that, so for those of you who don't know, noise harassment as it relates to gang stalking is a concept that a certain noise, and it can be something as small as like the clicking of a pen, or white noise is a big one, static is another one, a certain song played over and over, or just loud music played at any volume. I said loud music played at any volume. Music in general played at any volume that is noticed by a targeted individual they can claim that that's sort of like noise harassment, and they what they believe is that noise is being unleashed by a perp or a handler who is intentionally trying to irritate them. They're intentionally trying to frustrate them. There's nothing that is random in a targeted individual's lives. I
think that's key.
Nothing is random. Everything means something. Everything's connected to their experience of gang stalking, and it grows and grows and kind of takes over their lives. Another way that targeted individuals say that gang stalking I guess, plays out in their day-to-day lives, other than noise harassment, is street theater. This is where...
Wait, what?
Street theater.
Are we talking about West Side Story? Is that what's going on?
No, it's where... It's not where people put down a hat and you throw quarters in as they, like, mime being in a box. Like, it's not that type of situation.
I'm like, wait, what?
That's charming and terrifying. So I tip well, because I don't want you coming out of my bed. Like, I don't want to see you trying to get out of the box in my room in the dark in the night and get out, because then I'm gonna hurt you. Or
join you.
Maybe I just start miming too, in a way to just kind of like when I go through haunted houses, how I have to scare the person back. I just start miming
their personality. And now
I'm just like painting my face white.
And then that's what Katie does now.
Yeah.
She's a mime demon.
I have new life. I can't podcast anymore because it would sound like this.
And that somehow sounds better
than now.
Anyway.
Yeah. But no, so this kind of street theater is used, it's a term that's used to describe people that are trying to look incredibly normal, who look incredibly abnormal because they're acting. So there was one particular, it's actually a really good introductory video put out by Vice, where they spoke with one person whose name was Billy. I'm sure it wasn't his real name. But he said that he was a victim of cause stalking, which is a type of gang stalking that is based on the victim's lifestyle, their political orientation, their personal beliefs, what have you. He happened to be gay, and he believed that he was being gang stalked or cause stalked because of his sexual orientation. So he would say that he experienced all these kinds of street theater in the form of, straight people, heterosexual people, walking around holding hands in a market, or straight people like getting out of like parking in parking lots and getting out of cars together and holding hands, or just walking around being all straight like. And he said that he believed that this was intentional. He believed that these people were actors and that they were intentionally showing their closeness in order to irritate him in some way.
Listen, as a platinum card carrying gay man, dude, you fucked. I'm trying to figure out why our Amazon.
Should have unplugged that bitch before we did this episode.
Alexa is
Or Alexa
listening.
just went off. Such a menacing blue light it is.
All right, we're good.
Okay. But yeah, so that's an example of how,
It's almost self-centered. It's like narcissistic.
It is. It's very narcissistic. It's and I kind of believe. Well, before we get into our beliefs about why people kind of go down this path, there's a clip that I wanted to play for you guys because Kenny and I have we've kind of explained gangstalking to the best of our ability, but we figured who better to explain this to you than the individuals themselves, the targeted individuals. And you will find, if you go on YouTube and start researching gangstalking, I don't know that I recommend it, but if you do decide to do that, you will find pages and pages of YouTube content where people will upload just the most, if you need to go to sleep, it's probably a good bet for you because it is the most boring video material. The content is so bad. Because it's just videos of people living their normal lives. And most of the time it's, it's people who aren't even necessarily acknowledging the person filming, who of course is the targeted individual. It's people sitting on the fucking bus, like picking their nose or like, having a conversation with the person beside them that you can't even hear or murmuring. And the targeted individual is either filming quietly or yelling at them and like harassing them and screaming at them to get some sort of reaction from who they believe to be this, a
part of this evil organization that is just hell-bent on making their lives just absolutely miserable.
Right. So we want to play a clip for you guys of one particular targeted individual describing how he can tell that someone is intentionally trying to harass him, that someone is a perp.
And females, they love the hair thing. They're going to flick their hair on whatever side of their head is closest to where I am.
So I don't know about you, but I became very aware after watching that video of how much I toss my fucking hair all the time.
Well, and then it's just like, because he's talking about like a specific direction.
It's always the right side for me.
Yep.
So I'm just going to make sure that that's towards the wall so that like nobody will know.
Listen, I need y'all to just be like, Lizzo, I do my hair toss. Don't give a fuck about your gang stalking. Fuck you.
Are those the lyrics, actually? That must be a remix.
Baby, how you feeling?
Feeling targeted as hell.
Feeling targeted.
Personally. That's it.
I feel very attacked right now.
So we have one more, in their own words, clip for you. This is a targeted individual explaining why red cars are particularly significant.
We see that there's a red car parked at the end, and that also is a gang stalking pattern. Gang stalking, the core of it is anchoring. It's a neurolinguistic programming technique which firemen learned when so many of them took neurolinguistic programming workshops.
So I have to be honest with you, I have a bit of an inside scoop, I guess you could say. Don't really think firemen learn a lot of neurological intimidation, like harassment techniques and training.
You don't think?
I'm pretty sure it's just lifting heavy things up and then like moving them to another place and then setting them down. And also navigating when you can't fucking see anything.
Yeah.
There's smoke.
Yeah.
And also like
how to save people's
putting out fire
and doing those things.
Yeah. If you've ever met many firemen or firefighters, to use the appropriate term,
Fire people.
Fire
Nation.
Fire Nation. Yes, that's the new politically correct term for firefighters. No longer firefighters, it's Fire Nation.
Yep.
Firebenders. Yeah, if you've met many firefighters, neurological like intimidation or like functioning or any of that is just not really their strong suit. It's kind of why they're firefighters. I say with love. I love firefighters.
Listen, we just fight fires.
You know,
and that's it.
simple people. Mm-hmm. That's not true. They're all great. I know a lot of lady firefighters, and they're fabulous.
Please don't offend all of our firefighters.
The men are sturdy, and
all right. So I'm gonna try
strong.
I'm gonna try to drive this back on track.
But yeah, so that's just kind of in your own, so that you can kind of hear, you know, not in any way to belittle or demean these people, but you can kind of tell in the speech pattern, you can kind of tell in the words that they're using that it is a sort of indoctrination, and it is a sort of like virus type thing that's going on the internet, where, you know, these terms, targeted individual, perpetrators, you know, handlers, that whole thing about the neurological like assault or neurological manipulation, or those types of buzzwords are things that, you know, people who make these videos who claim to be targeted individuals have picked up from these groups. And it's kind of like a vocab list that you get, you know, when you join the group. And then it just kind of gets spewed across, you know.
It's like a party favor.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, you know, there are areas of the United States, and this is in this country, there are areas of the United States where education is really, really insufficient. But those people still have, you know, maybe a Starbucks in their town or something where there's, you know, Wi-Fi, where they can get a cheap phone and get on YouTube, and YouTube is there to kind of educate them or indoctrinate them into this. So it's really easy to kind of like fall into this whole mythology and get swept away in it.
Mm-hmm. Fall into this hole.
Right.
And we're not talking about Katie's new porn title.
We're not. That's not it. But I think
we're talking about mine.
Hey. But I think one of the reasons that this type of mythology or philosophy or, you know, belief system is appealing to people is because it does, like you said, involve a great deal of narcissism. Mm-hmm. If you are targeted, that means you are inherently of some sort of value, right?
Yeah.
You're the center, the very center of this vast, you know, government conspiracy, and the dark forces that keep our universe together are, you know, fixating on you specifically to harass, and you are specifically the problem, and, you know, you're the person who needs to be targeted and frustrated and, you know, provoked into acting in a crazy way, so that then, you know, you're institutionalized or placed under monitoring or what have you, because of course this is what targeted individuals, you know, are warning people about, is that, you know, the people who are harassing you want you to act crazy.
Yeah.
Which I haven't figured out why they then act crazy.
Yeah. I feel like this is probably the one thing that the baby boomers got right when they're like, because of that phone.
Yeah.
Because of that phone.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll give you this one, Karen.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. But, you know, baby boomers are a huge part of this too. If you look at the flat earth conspiracy, if you look at, you know, all kinds of bread and butter conspiracy theories, it's the baby boomer age group that is really kind of fueling it. Not to say that there aren't, you know, other folks who are involved and wrapped up in that, but, you know, that's a huge part of who's on YouTube these days.
Yeah.
It's fucking, you know, baby boomers from way out.
It's weird because, all right, I'm going to tell you, I've actually have just come to a sudden realization.
Oh, good.
While recording this with you this evening. So there are some times, for example, so like having been Having been bullied in the past, I sometimes feel, and it's probably like residual, like high school PTSD, but like if I'm walking down anywhere, be it like at the mall, headed to work or something, and if I see like a younger, or like if I see a group of people coming my way, and if I sort of see them as like the cool, like if they look like they're like a part of that cool crowd, and I hear them like laughing or saying something, if they look over my way, there's a part of me that's like, are y'all fucking talking about me? You know what I mean? Like, is that what's going on? And I get really insecure. And sometimes that happens still to this day. Now, am I targeted? I'm not going to say that I am. I'm just going to boil it down to just good old fashioned, like I said, PTSD from when people were actually pointing and laughing at me.
Well,
in
yeah,
high
I mean,
school.
yeah, no, I mean, I think that's definitely an element for folks. I think a lot of times, the people who are, and this is not to say that anybody is immune, because there are definitely people who are on forums for gang stalking who are incredibly successful people. There are lawyers, there are, doctors, there are, people who, this isn't to say that the only people who believe in gang stalking are people who don't have a whole lot going for them, but at the same time, a lot of the people who you see on YouTube talking about this sort of thing, they are or have been homeless. They have struggled with keeping a job. They have struggled with, keeping their family. They have, had very unfortunate things happen to them, that do require some sort of guidance to get through.
Yeah.
I don't make it any secret that I participate in therapy religiously. I think that it's a really good thing for people, and I think that it is really good to invest some time in your mental health. Everybody. I don't think you need to be sick to go to therapy, but a lot of these, people who are in these gang stalking support groups, they are people who need some sort of psychiatric attention or some sort of just, maybe therapeutic attention, not necessarily psychiatric, but just something to kind of get them back on track, and you kind of see them instead, unfortunately, turning to this mythology of gang stalking where, they can make themselves a martyr, and they can make themselves, it really is, the world outside really is all about them. And unfortunately, it's all about getting under their skin and frustrating them. And, the world is trying to make them lash out. And
sometimes that can lead them to like pretty dangerous things. Like if you even look at, there's the case of the Florida State University shooter back in 2014, Myron May, who, believed that he was a victim of, gang stalking, and had actually posted on social media prior to the shooting, where he was saying, like, he was asking other members of these groups, like, has your handler ever charged you, or like charged you with hurting other people in order to be free? And so I like it. This can be down to actually, like, it's all like fun and games, and like at one point, but at some point there, it can cross a line, especially if you don't have the correct support that you need. If these people are getting their support through other people who also need help, like right. it doesn't it only snowballs.
Right. It creates a feedback loop where these sorts of things are given legitimacy.
Yes.
If I have some sort of belief that, maybe everybody in my family thinks I'm crazy because I believe this thing, but then I meet you, somebody else, outside my everyday life online, who validates everything that I'm saying, then I'm going to take that and put it in a place of truth, because, well, somebody else has validated what my thought on this was. And, like you said, it can cross into a place of violence. It isn't necessarily fun and games. Just these YouTube channels where people are filming people without their consent on the bus, a lot of them are like screaming at these people and like verbally assaulting them. And what's so ironic is that they themselves, the person who believes they are a targeted individual, they are perpetrating against other people the behavior that they're accusing everyone around them of acting against them with,
It's like they're turning into a handler.
Right. They're the one who is yelling. They're the one who is upset. And of course, a targeted individual is going to tell you that, there are all these like little micro frustrations and micro incidents that, have been specifically planted to get them to that point where they just blow up. But, it's very, one self-proclaimed gang stalking victim said about gang stalking and the process, quote, "It's a way to slowly kill people using their own actions," end quote. And I thought that was particularly poignant because while, gang stalking victims recognize, and there are all kinds of forums about how to deal with gang stalking that say things like resist depression and, try not to react emotionally and try not to yell and try not to harass people back who are harassing you, because of course they're, believing these people are doing this on purpose. It can sort of snowball out of control where you end up having a situation like the 2014 Florida State shooter.
Yeah.
And
who was he was a graduate of Florida State University himself. I do believe he was a lawyer. Like, it's insane.
Right. It's not necessarily, a lot of these folks have a history of mental health disorders. A lot of them, have had struggles, but a lot of them look very professional.
Yeah.
At least for a bit,
Yeah.
until this sort of thing unravels their lives.
Yeah.
And I guess I would say to a targeted individual, if you feel like that's what you're experiencing, why do you have to let it bother you? Why does it have to be a frustration type thing where it mounts and mounts and builds and builds? Like, why can't you just accept it and kind of like move on? You know what I mean? Like, God is always watching you is what I was told when I was growing up. And I said, well,
God is the ultimate gang stalker, y'all.
I said, well,
Christianity.
Might as well give him a show. Let's see what we can do. Might as well keep him entertained.
Like, my thing is, and I'm just going to be real blunt with you. Like, what is the point? Like, what's the point? What is the point? Like, what are they here to do?
The point a targeted individual or a group of targeted individuals would probably tell you that the point is that there is something about them that is inherently special, useful, or potentially detrimental to this organization's cause, this shadowy organization's cause, and that they need to be removed. And so the way that is brought about is by making them seem crazy, so everybody thinks they're crazy, and then they're just written off and sort of like deactivated.
Yeah. Okay. Huh. All right. Well,
that's what we mean when we say it's inherently narcissistic, because it comes back to there's something in particular about you that's so important that, you have to be the target, like the center of all of this activity. So even though Stacy left you and took the kids and she's not coming back, you're still important because the shadow government has to take you out.
The shadow government. I love that. Speaking of shadows, I actually have a Reddit post.
Reddit post. Yeah,
Reddit's full of gang stalking.
Reddit's got a lot. Reddit's got a lot on its hands.
But my question to you is, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
You ready?
Oh, I'm prepared.
Okay. FBI agents, are you ready? All
yes,
right.
Kenny. We stay ready.
Y'all.
We're your number one listeners.
Y'all. Just kidding. We don't have listeners. All right. So this post is from Heartless Sam. And it was posted 4 months ago. And it is called My Gang Stalking Story and How It Began. Must read.
Got it.
Some must read, y'all. I was a normal man all my life until I reached, I think, 21 to 23. That is when I went back to school to finish high school at an adult school. There, I met a very strange woman who was my teacher, who had a very evil presence you can sense from a mile away. She would always have a fake smile on. She was the pretender of all pretenders. Either way, it seemed like she liked me and hit on me a few occasions. I played the song Nomad by Rick Hill on my phone and computer, and there's a line that says, "Miss Lucida, come touch, show me that you real." And after that, she came and fixed my jacket for me 2 times and touched the shoulder. Either way, this is where I went down the rabbit hole. I actually said that to myself. I'm like, didn't we all?
Didn't we all?
I started noticing I was running into music that had messages that almost seemed like they were speaking me, as if it was a warning from God. I noticed this right away and kept my distance from this woman.
Perfect.
I just...
Advisable. You know what? Advisable.
Yes. I just knew there was some very abnormal about this woman. As time went on, her true colors surfaced. She was Luciferian.
Ah.
A devil worshiper.
Is that like a pescatarian? Like, is that like a different...
Yep, she's
I'll have to look into
Luciferian.
that one. Maybe I could lose a couple pounds.
Maybe. That's why they call it Luciferian. You lose a couple Farians.
Sweat it out in all them Satan orgies.
Yep. She slowly started to indoctrinate me into her occult world. Me being a God-fearing man, I resisted with every ounce in me. This led to a huge spiritual battle in which I would receive messages from time to time. I remember one day I was doing something and I heard her in my head say, "He doesn't know who he's messing with. I have the light." For a period, she had left and had returned. This voice in my head served as warning that she wanted war and was not looking for peace. I took this as a challenge. Either way, by this point, she was trying to sell me a love story and how she was just in love after her indoctrination failed. This Reddit user goes on to talk about more voices that they heard. And he says,
why do I feel like him fighting a spiritual battle is just like him on a bed in leather pants in like 75 degrees in the house, and he's just like circling his nipples with ice cubes? Like, why do I feel like that's what's happening here?
He goes on to say...
Also, he has a goatee.
Yeah. He goes on to say, slowly the battle went from horrible to foobar. I don't know what the fuck that
I used to know what that stood for. It stands for something, right?
I have no clue.
FUBAR. Hang on.
We're gonna do
these
that
are the
live.
things that we need answers to.
FUBAR?
FUBAR is out of working order, seriously, perhaps irreparably damaged.
Oh, okay. From horrible to foobar. That's
but I
just
feel like
such an odd choice.
horrible sounds worse than FUBAR.
I mean, for
someone...
someone...
it stands for fucked up beyond all reason.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Horrible to fucked up
Dictionary.com
beyond
let
all
me
reason.
down, but Urban Dictionary
It gets you every
had
time.
it for me.
We could literally do a whole episode on Urban Dictionary.
Webster Dictionary and them streets, Urban Dictionary and them sheets.
He goes on
Girl.
to say, they started to set me up on terrorism charges, and lucky for me, each time they planned it, God revealed to me my impending doom. By this point...
Through, like, Facebook Messenger?
Maybe.
Like, how'd you...
I don't know.
How do you get you, girl?
I understand. I wake up to God's impending doom every day. By this point, she had accused me of being gay and million other things that I rather not mention, but they were attempts to assassinate/slander me or my character. As I continued on down the rabbit hole, I learned a few tricks. I realized the reason God was saving me was because I was walking a righteous path. I noticed each time they wanted to screw me over, they needed me to sin in some way. See, I'm Afghan, and my parents wanted to go back home and asked me if I wanted to come. I wanted to go initially and was very excited because I got a chance to fix my hair and straighten my nose at a cheaper price.
Interesting.
But soon...
I'm going to say that, like, bargain shopping on a nose job is probably not what we want
Not what we want.
to do.
No, not at all.
It's probably worth it to spend the extra coin there.
But soon later, I noticed a song called Jumpman by Drake. It really scared me. Made me feel like there was something about to happen if I went there. So he goes on to talk about being a terrorist, apparently. And he says that there are two routes. He was given a choice between two, a righteous route and a non-righteous route. And every time I took the non-righteous path, I would find myself in trouble. Every time I took the righteous route, God would reverse the burdens placed on me in such a way it was like magic. I soon realized that these Luciferinas were counting...
Luciferinas?
Yeah.
Instead of Luciferian.
Yeah, Luciferinas.
Great. Just checking.
Were counting on me to do evil things to punish me. I quickly learned the game and started beating them at it. The record is 10,000 wins for me, 0 for them. Till today, they struggle to put me away. Every day, there's a new attempt at my life or my character, but God comes and erases them all. I quickly learned that I had magical powers and that I could take on the Luciferinas, even though it was 1,000 people versus 1. All I had to do was be as righteous as possible. And so I encourage you all to be a nice, kind, and caring. Do as many good deeds as you can, but the number one thing is, don't sin. I can't stress this enough. If you sin, God will not intervene. But yeah, I'm still being stalked and harassed. But even I know the end is near. My turn for a great life is coming and it's on its way. Either way, the people who are doing this to you are Luciferians or devil worshippers. I highly recommend you get familiar with the occultic world. And then, he does, so talk about being a good person and all this. Then he goes on to say, like, towards the end, if you stray away from God, you will be doomed. Either way, once I'm done slaying these demons and bitches, I'll help you find out.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
These demons and bitches, I will help you all out. So, yeah. That's the Luciferinos.
Luciferinas. Luciferina. Is that like a new one?
I think.
Like a new sect?
Or it's like Murderinos, but for Luciferians.
Yeah, like Murderinos who are also Luciferians.
Luciferinos.
Oh,
those don't exist, do they?
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm not sure. I don't think that those two things are like a Venn diagram. I think they are pretty separate.
I
don't know.
Too.
Yeah, you might be surprised. So, anywho, that's very interesting. We can see it's very obvious, like the blatant strain of narcissism that runs all through that.
Magic.
You know, he's magic. He's the most righteous. You know, he's keeping score 10,000 wins for him, and you know. So
I wish I could feel that good about life when I get the fuck up every day. 10,000 wins for me. None for you, you dirty bitch. I say as I look
you
at
dirty
myself
bitches and demons.
in the fucking mirror.
Yeah. So, that's Gangstalking.
Yeah.
I hope that you feel that your life has been enriched because ours certainly were not by this research that we did for you this week.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have this one done.
Yeah, same.
Because I don't have to carry that around in my brain anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
But
that's what happens.
I think we all learned a lot today about, the shadow government and perpetrators and handlers and how to spot whether you're being gang stalked. And the answer is you are.
I'm pretty sure, you can find books on how to deal with being gang stalked. There's one available on Amazon. I don't know how because you have to pay for it, and I'm not going to do that. So I don't know how to help you.
Maybe visit Target. No, I think I don't know what I think. I don't
really know either.
Right out of my fucking head.
No, I just think that if you need help, get help, please.
Just
That's all
get
I'm gonna
help.
say. We're not medical professionals. We're not psychologists. We are not therapists by any means.
We're not, but you should get one, and they won't tell anybody your secrets. You
They've
can
got
tell them
that
everything.
hippo oath,
It's
right?
yeah, HIPAA.
The hippo oath.
Yeah, that one. Hungry hippo.
Yeah. Hey, I love that fucking game.
Oh God, it's
I
time
always
to end
won.
this. So, if you want to stalk us, feel welcome to do so.
Yeah.
You can find us on all the social medias. We are on Facebook, the Haunted Heart Podcast. You can like our page so that you can stay up to date on all of our bullshit. And you can also join our Facebook group. Right now, for the month of July, we are doing a super fun interactive scavenger hunt. It's like loosely based on the show. It's only in the Facebook group though. So you have to search the Haunted Heart Podcast, request to join the group, and either Kenny, myself, or a member of our Murder Mod Squad who dreamed up this lovely scavenger hunt idea will approve you for acceptance into the group or the gang. You might.
Oh, that was good.
You might say.
That was good.
But yes, join during the month of July. We're doing a scavenger hunt, and the winner of the scavenger hunt, the top 2 winners of the scavenger hunt, will receive a mystery box from myself and Kenny. So we're going to have 2 boxes that go out to the top 2 winners, and you can participate just because you're joining in the middle of the month. You can go back and do all of the entries that you missed.
Yeah.
It's not like a time-sensitive thing.
You can join in on the last fucking day and then come in and post all the damn pictures and fucking sweep the shit.
You could
You don't
swoop
know.
it. You could. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. You win because we like your post. Sorry, I didn't really explain how it works. Just join the Facebook page. The rules are on there.
Facebook page.
The Facebook page, It is
She's
what it is.
running out of steam, y'all.
I am.
She's
I am.
running out. We got to wrap this bit
You can
up.
find us on Instagram at The Haunted Heart Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at The Haunted Heart. And as Kenny mentioned at the top of the show, we are always welcoming new members to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/The Haunted Heart. That's where you get that premium extra stalking material.
Premium stalking. And you can also find us in Chicago coming up on the 13th. We're going to be attending that True Crime Podcast Festival on the 13th. It's at the Chicago downtown. It's at the Chicago
It's at the
downtown.
Marriott. It's at the Marriott
on Magnificent
in downtown
Mile.
Chicago.
You know what? Don't listen to me. Just go to tcpf2019.com. And they will have accurate information for you.
They also have tickets that you can buy. If you don't want to buy a ticket, you are welcome to come to our meetup afterwards. We will be meeting up in the hotel lobby. It is fancy, and I am uncomfortable. But we're going to get through it together, and I've heard they have alcohol there.
girl, it's a hotel lobby. Like,
I know, but it just seems so fancy.
I think it's a Marriott.
I don't know. Come have a drink with me in the lobby of a Marriott. Make my dreams come true. Please come meet me.
Please. Please.
Otherwise, I'll just be there with him.
Yeah, same.
Anyway, I think that's it.
Is
that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Is that all
girl.
of our shit?
That's
Did we
it.
tick all our boxes?
That's it.
Beautiful. Well, keep your eyes open. Keep your phone recording. And stay spooky.